folks, I'm Vasel. Welcome to Look Back. This is where I take a look at reviews that I did a year, 5 years, and 10 years ago, and tell you where we think they're at today. Some have changed, some haven't, but either way, it's fun to think about them again. We're going to start with a year ago. First, we're going to start with, in 2006, I took a look at the Shadow over Westminster. This is a cooperative game where there's some evil shadow coming in. You're not quite sure what that shadow is, some nasty thing. And depending on the roles you picked, the concept, this dark, foreboding concept, is pretty cool. But the gameplay itself left only a few options, just wasn't very interesting at all, unfortunately. Then we have Perspective, which is a game in which you're trying to figure out what colors are based on you're holding a handful of cards and there are colors on each side and you're trying to get them right on the other side and you're maneuvering them and switching them around. But it wasn't fun, so too bad. Then we have Flip City Reuse. This adds a couple more things to Flip City. I actually like this better than the Flip City Frontiers that just came out. This has added a few more cards, so if you want more stuff for Flip City, there you go. And then we have Ugly Dot Lunacy. I'm a fan of the Ugly Doll series because they're anything but ugly, first of all. My kids like them, but Lunacy, as you're trying to, it's like the board game version of Flux, kind of, but it works well, especially with this theming. Safebreaker. This is a kind of a deduction game where you have this safe that you put together. It's a color and a number, and you are asking other people questions, trying to figure out exactly which one they have, listening to the questions that are asked. Then we jump down to Treasure of 13 Islands. This is a Hobbit game in which you are trying to get to an island with your eyes closed but not falling into things. So you're looking at the board, okay, I know that's there, and then you close your eyes and try to move it around. It's fun and entertaining, but mostly for kids, of course. Then there's Valerie Card Kingdoms. Now, this is the first of the Valerie games, even though they're all different, but they all Valerie are real big on the box. But this one here, very similar to Machikoro, a game in which you roll dice, you get some cards. These cards are going to allow you, whenever dice are rolled, to get resources. I'm sorry, the resources give you cards. So you're going to roll dice, and as someone rolls dice, you get resources. This game is good. I like it. It would be great, but the problem is, and I very rarely say this about game, it's too easy. After a while, you're rolling, and like, oh, I got all these resources. I got all these. Look at all this I have. I can buy anything on the table. And when you can buy anything on the table, it's not very. It's not as, the choices are just not as powerful. But it was still fun, and a lot of people really do like it. That's Valerie Card Kingdoms. Then we're at Histrio. Histrio is about animals, anthropomorphic animals, putting on Shakespearean plays and things. And in this game, you're going to be drafting cards and getting cards and bidding for cards so you can put on the best plays that you possibly can. It's good. It was out of stores like a month after it came out, so I'm not sure that this is one you should even hunt down, or well, maybe you can because it's very cheap. And the production values were really nice. That's Histrio. I like the theme too. Then there's the Luvia Project. Now this is a game that doesn't look as nice, but is a very heavy game in which you are building, man, I forget what the Luvia Project was, some futuristic project. You're putting tiles on a board and trying to get the most points by putting them in certain ways. And you're doing that through a worker placement system in which you can place a good worker in spots or secondary workers. And depending on where you place them, some spots have spots for lots of workers, some have spots for only a few, but there's just all these different things, and you're bidding on different areas, and these areas give you resources. Heavy, very thinky style game. I thought it was pretty good. That's a Luvia Project. Jason liked it even better than I did. Then we have Rockwell. This is a mining game. It's a circular board, and you're going to be mining down as deep as you possibly can while upgrading your equipment that you can mine farther down. So it's that typical thing. I want to mine, find stuff, but many times when you mine something, you couldn't do it alone. Other people come in and join you. Of course, they then get a share of what you find when you mine. So it's a competitive game, of course, but there's that forced cooperation that's involved. Then there's Spheres of Influence. This game looks like Risk. In fact, a lot of it plays like Risk. There's, it's a combat game where you're moving around, but you could have multiple countries that you are controlling. There's a very clever card play system, a really great initiative style system. Controlling some areas will give you more initiative on the board. Other areas gives you resources. This is a Risk replacement, essentially. That is Spheres of Influence. Then we will jump to the Descent Lieutenants. I've dropped these a bit because the fact is when I'm playing through Descent, you can only play with one lieutenant through like a campaign for the most part. If you want the miniatures for them when they show up, but for the most part, only one of these can be played, and there's so many of them that It's more of almost a money grab by Fantasy Flight, but they're still fun and they still bring enjoyable things to the game. Junk Art. Junk Art for Pretzel Games, it was going to be hard for them to top, Flick 'em Up. Flick 'em Up, the Western style game, but Junk Art came pretty close. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's another stacking game. And it is another stacking game, but it takes stacking and does different things with it. Each time you play, you're trying to do something different. Maybe you're all stacking on one tower, maybe each have your own tower, and you give the person the piece to put on their tower. And those different rules and also the thoughtfulness put into how the pieces fit together makes it a game that I still have on my shelves. Let's see, then we are at Terror of the Mists and the two Undead expansions for Battle Lore. I didn't realize that it's not been that long since the last expansion came out. This is one of the asked questions we get all the time. Is there more stuff coming out for Battle Lore? I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But the fact is, this added a third faction. There's now a ton of cool things in Battle Lore. You can fight back and forth. A lot of fun. Then we have... was that the last one? No. Suspend. I did a trivia question on what are the top selling games on Amazon right now. And one of those games was Suspend. And I said, I don't own this game. So I got it. It's this metal game where you're trying to suspend things all on top of each other before the whole thing's precariously balancing. It's really fun. It's entertaining, and it makes almost like a work of art as you put it together. And then Koo Reformation. Koo Reformation, an expansion for Koo that adds some roles that you can switch out, but also adds kind of a team-based thing, which is really neat how it works, and you're switching back and forth between the teams. A lot of fun. Koo Reformation. 5 years ago, first of all, I took a look at Commander-in-Chief. Now, this game is kind of like Stratego or chess, but the pieces move differently. It's not very good. The pieces are fun, and the designer of this has been trying to hunt me down every convention that he goes to show me how I played it wrong. But it was just not a very good game. It's an interesting idea, but it feels like it was designed 40 years ago or so. Bits. This was an actual sequel to was it Fitz? The other game, what was Tetris? Reiner Knizia made a Tetris game that you drop Tetris pieces down. In Bits, you're dropping down different color pieces. Think maybe Dr. Mario, the board game. It just didn't work as well. It's just too much of a meh, I guess would be the best thing I could say about it. Then we have Clash of the Gladiators. Now this one goes up and down for me, right? So right now it's up. In Clash of the Gladiators, you have these chariots that are moving around the board. And you pick the things that go in a chariot. So maybe I'll take a guy with a net, a guy with a sword. The more swords, the more attack power you have. The nets can, stop swords from other people. You have a guy who lets you have rerolls. And then you go around fighting each other and wild animals that are out there. It's dice chucking. It's silly. It's fun. It's more for kids, I think, than anything else. But I don't know. It's kind of a neat game, Clash of the Gladiators. Then we have Shootout. Now, this is a game that came inside a DVD. It was a DVD about board games and different things like that. And this was a little mat from Reiner Knizia where you have two people moving back and forth until they're going to shoot at each other once or miss. A silly little game, but it worked. I don't know where this game is if I still have it. Then we have Cosmic Alliance. This is the third expansion for Cosmic Encounter. It added the white pieces. It added the ability to play Cosmic Encounter on teams, which works, but it's something I haven't done in ages because I prefer to play it not while it's on teams if possible, but adds more cool aliens. It was a solid, great expansion. I love Cosmic Encounter. Why would I not say that? And finally, 5 years ago, I reviewed Through the Desert, which is a really great game from Reiner Knizia where you're putting camels out, connecting them, and trying to get areas of the board and connect them all. Just a wonderful game. 10 years ago, I played two games. The first was Zero In, which is a game in which you have cards and you are trying to collect different colors and is random. The next one, Dart Wars, is a fascinating game. It's like Risk, but you're throwing magnetic darts at a board. So I want to attack, Russia. I'm going to throw a dart at Russia. Then when you do attack a spot, you both are throwing at a target. Whoever gets closer to the target wins. It's an entertaining, silly idea. I don't know that I'd recommend it to most people. It's more of a novelty than anything else. For years and years, I had this hanging on my wall because it was so unique and interesting. But the game itself is just decent at best. Well, folks, those are the reviews I did 1, 5, and 10 years ago. I'm Tom Vasel. Thanks so much for watching Look Back. This has been the Dice Tower.